Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Stubble98, and welcome to my Mastering Sonic P06 Silver Radical Train Beginner Tutorial. Before watching this video, I highly recommend watching my Mastering Sonic P06 Beginner Setup Guide, as that video covers all of the miscellaneous things like adding save files, setting up all the configuration settings in the options menu, and discussing more complicated things like camera volumes to set up Sonic P06 for speedrunning. Additionally, I like to recommend my Mastering Sonic P06 Silver Movement tutorial, as that goes in depth on every single ability that Silver, Blaze, and Amy can do. This video is going to be broken up into two segments, with the first segment being a non-commentary run of the route. That way you can see the entire thing at once. The second portion of this video is going to be the route with commentary, where I'm going to be pausing, rewinding, and explaining everything as much as I possibly can, so no stone is left unturned in case anyone has questions on this route. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Silver's Radical Train. Enjoy.
I'm not going to let the Iblis trigger get away. There's no other way ahead. I guess I've got to break down the door. Yahoo! I can't grab lasers with my psychokinesis. It looks like I can only avoid them. It looks like I can jump off the line. Great! Looks like I'm on a roll.
All right, welcome to the commentated portion of the speedrun route, where I am going to be pausing and rewinding to dissect every single thing that we do here. Starting off, we are going to kind of wait a little bit on this platform until we hear that ping. When we hear that ping, that means our action gauge is completely full, and then we are going to do a teleport dash straight over to this crane here. Now, it's a little bit difficult to land on this crane because it is a narrow structure. My recommendation is right when the wheel, that bottom wheel, goes out of view, that's when you let go, and you'll pretty much land right on top of it every time if you get the same angle here. You're kind of perpendicular with the fence. That's right here. And then you do a teleport dash, and then right when the wheel goes off screen, you can land on the crane. We're going to wait for our action gauge to fill up just a little bit. We don't need full. And we're going to walk on this wheel to get a slope jump here to get us a bunch of height. Once out of our jump and Silver uncurls naturally, we are going to do a hover to get over to this portion, completely skipping that bottom side. Gonna run on this conveyor belt to get a bunch of speed, and then jump and hover into this capsule. Now, there was a little bit of confusion on what this capsule is in my Dusty Desert video, so I'm going to explain what it is here. This is called a gauge up capsule. What it does is when you collect it, it completely maxes out your action gauge, no matter how much you had beforehand. This isn't too useful for Silver because his action gauge refills pretty quickly on the ground, but since this is an aerial capsule, we can get a gauge refill while we're hovering. This gap isn't really that wide, so it's not too terribly useful here like it is in something like Dusty Desert. But another property of the gauge up capsule that's pretty much exclusive to P06 because the maturity meter didn't work in Retail 06 is that it maxes out your maturity meter, as I kind of hinted at. For Silver, this is great because now we have maximum duration ESP mode whenever we want to pop it, which is in fact what we're going to do right here. We land on this square, The reason we land on this square is so that when we pop or juice up, we can kill those enemies with the blast and get some extra chaos drives, just to give us a little bit more action gauge, and so we don't have to wait as long for it to refill. Once we pop it and that enemy dies, which he does automatically, we're going to do a teleport dash all the way over to this wooden gate here. You can destroy these wooden gates with 2 Psycho Smashes, which is really nice. We don't have to throw enemies into it or anything, because sometimes, depending on what object you throw at these gates, it might not actually break them. But we just jump in the air so that we can do 2 quick Psycho Smashes, because if you do it on the ground, there's a bit of a delay. So we can skip, like, the recovery animation. And then, once we're through this gate, we are going to hit this checkpoint, do a Psycho Shock, and then an animation cancel to pick up all of those robots. And the reason that I do that instead of a grab all is so I can continue to move Silver and aim them at these enemies here. So I'm going to jump and then just throw them all and kind of just aim in a general direction to destroy those 2 aerial enemies there. Moving on here, taking the springs, we still got some ESP mode left. We're going to do a Psycho Shock into another animation cancel. There's no real reason to do that over the grab all, other than it's just a little bit faster to do so. So if you just want to do a Psycho Shock and then double tap RT just to do a grab all and destroy them, you can do that as well. That unlocks the spring over here, and we want to take that, so we're on the upper route. We're going to go on the left side of that conveyor belt, because we want to move forward as quickly as possible. Then this one's going to switch, so you want to jump on this little railing in between both conveyor belts. And then we're going to jump and do a teleport dash over to these conveyor belts. These conveyor belts are extremely convenient because we can move extremely quickly on top of them. And once our action gauge, you can do it safely with about 3/4 to, I don't know, 7/8 action gauge here. You can do a teleport dash over to this grind rail. Now, unlike Retail 06, these grind rails are actually programmed to have Silver be able to grind on them, so we can use that to just go right above this train and not take that bottom route. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to jump off the rail and hover all the way over to this platform. Where you want to jump, you can kind of see the breaks in which the rail angles. As you can see, Silver is on top of a junction point right now between, like, when the rail is straight and when it curves more to the right. We want to, before we reach this point right here, we want to jump off. Now, if we wait all the way until we reach kind of the cross section or poles there, we're not going to have enough height. It's going to be just before that junction point. So we want to pass this junction point right here, and then we want to jump after doing, like, half of a turn, I guess, if that makes sense, in our grind animation. So Silver's almost done, like, half of a jump. So then we're going to jump one more time here and then hover over, have some visual noise because it's lovely. And then just run here, and while our action gauge refills, jump and do 2 Psycho Smashes into the wooden gate once again. And then we're just going to teleport dash into the goal ring. And that was the beginner route for Silver's Radical Train. I really hope this video was useful. Thank you all so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.